Hey, it's Dave Wyman from Wyman and Bob. Time for some Football 101, coming off a big win over the Chargers. The Seahawks now 4-3. Couple of things before we're going to look at Kenneth Walker and a couple of the touchdown runs that he had. Two things. One is Geno Smith, and we talk about how he's spreading the ball around, and DK Metcalf got injured in that game, and maybe that's going to be if he's not available next week. We talk about the receivers a lot. It's Geno. Geno is leading the league in Geno Smith in completion percentage, more like by a pretty big margin. Just incredibly efficient. He had 5 incomplete passes in the first quarter against the Chargers, only 2 the rest of the way. So quarters 2, 3, and 4, 2 incompletions. It's pretty incredible. The other thing is on the defensive side, what I would say that my best sort of explanation to explain what's happened as far as how have they repaired defensively. They're the last 2 weeks really not giving up a lot of yardage and doing a good job against the run. The easiest way to put it, and this is just my estimation based on my experience and having played, is that everybody knows their gap before the ball snaps. I feel like before they were kind of reading things and sort of waiting, and there was a lot of hesitation. Now guys are just attacking gaps. So they held the Chargers to 53 yards rushing. So that was probably the biggest stat I think that you could right away first take away from that game is that that it was that low of a rush total. But really impressive with the rookies, but let's look at one of them here, Kenneth Walker and his 2 touchdown runs. So you see them, they're set up in a 3 tight end formation. So what you call this, just as a review, is 13 personnel. And the reason why is the first number is the running back and the second number is the number of tight ends. So that means you only have 1 wide receiver because there's 5 receivers. So yeah, the 13 personnel has been very popular, and just to give you a little hint ahead, he's also in 13 personnel in the next run that he runs for a touchdown. But this is the one that went for about 13 yards, and it was really nicely blocked and really a good patient run by Ken Walker. So here's the start, and what's going to end up being the key blocks is Austin Blythe and Damian Lewis. These are the 2 guys that Kenneth Walker here is going to read, just to see where to run, how these guys take their blocks, and it's pretty cool to watch this open up and look at it from the end zone. And remember, this guy carrying the ball is a rookie. I never expect anything out of rookies, and he's very patient and he just does a great job. So here we go as the play develops, and again, what you're seeing here is what you're going to get. There's 2 defenders, one here and one here. These 2 guys are going to combo block them. So it starts off as a double team by Austin Blythe on the defensive tackle, and then Austin's going to come off and go up to the linebacker. On this side, it's just a pretty straightforward block here by Damian Lewis, but he's trying to figure out which way should I take him, and so that's why Kenneth Walker has to be really patient to wait and see, which way does he take this block. It looks like he's going to take him to the left there, but we'll check it out in the next screenshot here. And as it turns out, yes, he did. And so Damian Lewis take this defender to the left, and whenever you see that, what I used to call it was the hallway of butts. Very sophisticated, right? But in this case, gray, because they have gray pants. But when you see this lane right here, there's nobody with an opposing jersey color in there, and they've got them turned. They've got these guys turned and sealed. Then that is when hit the gas right there, and that's what Ken Walker does. But just a great seal right here, and nice little hallway right to the end zone. And not much to see here other than Ken Walker makes it into the end zone. So just a really nice read by him, reading his blockers. And these offensive line, linemen, they love that stuff. And so, yeah, they're over there picking up Ken Walker, celebrating. Let's take a look at what ended up being it's now the third longest run in the NFL, 74 yards. And by the way, 168 yards for Ken Walker is number 2, only to Austin Eckler, who plays for the Chargers. That the Seahawks defense held them to 53 yards rushing, but he has 173 yards in one game, Eckler does, against Cleveland. Second is Ken Walker with his 168 last Sunday. Similar type of formation. Once again, you've got 1, 2, 3, and this is Will Dissly right here, tight ends. And this one's going to be a toss, so Gino's going to end up pitching the ball to him. It's not a handoff like the other one, but really good formation for them. They've had very productive plays coming out of this personnel group. Just real quick, wanted to show Colby Parkinson going in motion. The ball's been snapped and everybody's starting to go this way. You see the defense hasn't reacted yet, but you've got a guy on the run who's going to figure pretty prominently, and Colby Parkinson is going to figure prominently in the blocking of this 74-yard touchdown. I had a diagram against the Falcons when the Seahawks defense was kind of outflanked and their alignment wasn't good, and the way that Atlanta sort of built an advantage by bringing a guy in motion. It's kind of what they did with Colby Parkinson here. This is Kyle Van Noy right here. It looks like he's about to get hooked by Will Dissly. You see big Abe Lucas, and he's kind of in a position to just seal off any of the flow here. You got Dwayne Eskridge, who really has played well, as a blocker. He hasn't quite gotten it down. He had a fumble the other day, but he's really active as a blocker. And you also got Parkinson here, who is, in motion and getting ready to come over there and help with the blocking. Here we see Will Dissly has taken the outside backer down, Kyle Van Noy. I think on the broadcast they said, well, it's maybe a little bit of a questionable block. I don't think so. You could call holding on almost every play. And Will Dissly cupped his hands inside and got a pancake here. And you get so much love from your teammates and everything when you get a play like that. So really cool. But yeah, Colby Parkinson is able to be a free blocker who's able to come out and kick this guy out. And then, you've got Kenneth Walker, who was a first-round draft choice, but, it's Kenneth Murray. But if I'm Kenneth Walker, I'm going to say, hey, I can beat this guy to the edge. And that's exactly what he does. And here we go. This is the block by Colby Parkinson. And again, this guy has built himself up to be a huge guy. He was kind of a little on the thin side. He's a really willing blocker, and he's gotten to be a pretty devastating blocker. So there we go. We got the kick out block there, and that's because Will Dissly was able to handle his business one-on-one. And then you just got Kenneth Walker just beating these guys to the edge, just too much speed. So really cool. Eventually, obviously, this ends up being a 74-yard touchdown, but 168 yards for a rookie. You've got Tariq Woolen with 4 interceptions in a row. You had Kobe Bryant with 4 punch-outs in a row. So the tackles on offense are playing really well. So really exciting to be a Seahawk fan right now. They're 4-3. Sounds weird. They're number 1 in the NFC West right now. So a huge test this weekend against the Giants. But the way they're playing right now, I think they could beat pretty much anybody in the NFC and possibly even in the AFC. But we'll have a closer look at that on Sunday against the Giants.